Hi, Mr. Ko here, and today's topic is solving systems of equations by substitution. And our goal for today is we're going to solve systems of equations by substitution. And the California standards that we're going to cover for today is California Standards 9.0. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so our first thing that we need to know about is what we're trying to do for today. So today we're going to solve by substituting, and we are substituting following a certain format. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to substitute for a variable, and it could be x or y or a or b, or in this case it's normally x and y. We're going to substitute for a variable, so we're going to look for a variable that is on its own, and then we're going to substitute for it. Once we're done with that, we're going to solve the equation, substitute for, once we get the answer for this, we're going to take that answer and substitute that for a variable, and then we're going to be able to create an ordered pair. Because our entire thing about solving systems and equations is really where these two linear equations connect. It's that one little section, that little point where they connect at. And this is the second part to what we've done before, which is when we started to solve for solving systems of equations by graphing. And the only problem with graphing is sometimes you may make mistakes with the ruler, it's not straight enough, and so you may not get that perfect shot of where that point is intersecting for those two lines that we have here. Alright, so here, let's go and talk about the first one. Let's make it easy. So here we already have a line, y is equal to -2, and this is a horizontal line on the y, but it goes across the -2 on the y-axis. And then we have 4x minus 3y is equal to 18. And all we're going to do here is, number one, we're going to substitute for a variable. Now this right here already makes it easy for us because y is equal to -2, which means all we have to do is find our other linear equation right here, and we're just going to substitute for that y. Now, there's one really big hint that I'm going to tell you, and that is basically when you are doing this out, I want you to make sure that you put parentheses around what you're substituting, just so that way you know that you are substituting that entire term. Okay? So here, let's rewrite it out. So I have 4x minus 3, and I'm going to substitute it because that's y, and it shows you that y is equal to -2. -2 equals 18. So we're going to continue on and just kind of finish this part up. And if you notice, we've now just taken out the y, which means we're solving really for x. So here, 4x minus, and this is a -3 times a -2, which gives me a plus 6, is equal to 18. And I continue on. I get to subtract 6 here, subtract 6 here, and that is your property of equality, subtracting both sides. 6 minus 6 is gone. I now have 4x is equal to 12, and we figure out that x is equal to 3. Now, we've just figured out substituting for a variable, so we just substituted. We've just solved this equation. And now we're going to substitute for another variable, but the thing is, we don't have to because this is already our point that we need. So all we need to do is just write the ordered pair. So here our x is 3, and our y is -2. Alright, let's move on one where it's a little bit harder. Alright, so, same exact deal. We are solving systems of equations by substituting. And here we're going to go ahead and look at our two linear equations, and we're going to choose one that makes it easier for us. Since y is already isolated, we're going to choose that one. And everything that we have here, and let me just go and circle this, everything that we have here is going to go into that y. So, let's rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite the top one, except this time I'm going to rewrite it with the substitution, so it'll be 2x minus 3 times y, and in this case y is our substituted values, which is x minus 1, and yes, it's both of these. And then don't forget, you still have more to write, equals -1. Alright, so here we're going to go ahead and we've just substituted for a variable. We're now going to solve this particular equation. And don't forget, we want to distribute first. So here I have 2x. And don't forget, when you're distributing the minus 3 to both of these terms, which will make it a minus 3x. And then minus 3, or a negative 3 times negative 1, makes it a positive 3, is equal to negative 1. Because we have like terms here, we're going to go ahead and combine them. And that gives me a negative 1x plus 3 is equal to negative 1. I'm going to continue on here. And then now if you notice, I can, it's a two-step equation. So I'm going to subtract 3 here, subtract 3 here. I now have negative 1x is equal to negative 4. And then at this point, I can kind of figure out what can I multiply with the negative 1 to x, that would give me negative 4. Or I can divide both sides by negative 1 to show that, using the property of equality, that x is going to be equal to positive 4. Now, what do I do with this particular bit of information? Well, we've found this part up, so we're only on part 2 right now. We're going to take this, and we're just going to substitute it into either one of these equations. And looking at this one, it's probably the easier one to do. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one right here, and substitute my x into here to find my y. So y is equal to 4. Let me use that 4 right here. Minus 1. So y is equal to 3. And then now I have my two answers here for x and y. And then I'm going to put them into ordered pair format. And so my ordered pair is going to be x, which is 4, and y, which is 3. Alright, let's go ahead and work on a different one. And again, this one is a nice easy one because it is already done for you. The y is isolated. So let's go with one where nothing is truly isolated, where we have to go ahead and do some manipulation. So our first step here is we're going to go ahead and isolate for either a y or an x. And in this case, this y is already here, so we just have to move this over. So I'm just going to rewrite this top one. So when I rewrite this top one, it's going to look like I'm going to add 4x here, and I'm going to add 4x right here. Just to rewrite it so that way y is on its own. So now I have y is equal to 4x plus 6. And again, it was because I had a negative 4x here, I'm going to add 4x to both sides, property of equality again, and now that gives me an isolated y. And I'm just going to do the same exact thing that I did on the board right before this. I'm going to solve for y and x. I'm going to substitute now this particular thing into my y. So this right here, let me circle this. This is going to go into there. Alright, so let's rewrite that. Just this part right here, which is negative 5x minus, and again, in parentheses, I'm going to place everything that is the y, that was the y, which is 4x, plus 6 is equal to 21. And then I'm going to go ahead and solve for here, which means I'm going to solve for x. So I now have distributive property, so it's negative 5x. Distribute the negative to both terms. Negative 4x, negative 6 or minus 6 is equal to 21. I now see that I have a combined like term situation, so I'm going to combine those two. Negative 5x minus 4x is going to give me negative 9x. Minus 6 is equal to 21. And then two-step operation or two-step equation right here. I get to add 6 here, add 6 here, and now have negative 9x is equal to 27. And then, finishing it up, negative 9, negative 9, I now have x is equal to negative 3. So once I have this particular part right here, I'm just going to go ahead and pick whichever one that I want to find y. Since I've already created this right here, I can very well just stick this back into here to figure out what my y is. So let's just go ahead and use that, make it easier. So let's go ahead and put y equals 4 times negative 3, and again I got the negative 3 because I got the x from here, plus 6. So here I now have y is equal to negative 12 plus 6, y is equal to negative 6. So I now have my two ordered points. I can now rewrite them. So my x is -3 and my y is -6. Alright, so once again, make sure that you are isolating for either a y or x. Sometimes it's a lot easier to do x, and it doesn't matter because you're just going to substitute that entirety, the terms, into each variable. And then solve for it, then substitute again to find the other variable, and then you now have your ordered pairs. Alright? Alright, if you'd like to see more videos, just go to www.youtube.com. Believe that's a /user/tycodad, and that's it. Thank you.